The next topic in lesson 3, we are going to talk about heat balance. That is, it comes under the topic of atmosphere. Now, before I start with heat balance, let me get you all introduced to certain terms which are very important in understanding this whole topic of heat balance. Now, here the earth receives heat energy from three basic sources. Which are the three basic sources? Solar radiation, gravity, endogenic forces which come from within the earth. But over here, solar radiation is the most significant source of terrestrial heat energy. Terrestrial means anything pertaining to land. So here we are going to study about the heat balance, keeping these three topics in mind: solar radiation, endogenetic forces, and gravity. But solar radiation is the most important topic over here. And we'll understand what basic terminologies like temperature, how do they help the atmosphere, what are the different ways of, what are the different radiations which we come across in this topic. Now, what do we really mean by temperature? The particles, atoms, and molecules that make up all substances are always in motion. We call this energy of motion kinetic energy. Energy in motion is called kinetic energy. The particles will not have all the same energy, and the energy of the particles is constantly changing as they undergo changes in speed. So, for a given sample of matter, we can talk about average kinetic energy of a particle. So, to sum it up all, temperature is a measure of average kinetic energy of the particles in a substance. When we refer to an object as being hot, we usually mean it has high temperature. Temperature is more easily measured and defined than heat. Heat is a measure of the total molecular energy of the substance. The heat of an object depends on three characteristics: the temperature, the mass, and its composition. Now here, before we get into this, we need to know simple terminologies, that's conduction, convection, and radiation. To drive the atmosphere, heat must be transferred from place to place and from substance to substance. So there are three ways in which heat is transferred. That's to conduction, convection, and radiation. We are also going to concentrate more on radiation, but I'm just giving you all a brief up of conduction and convection. Conduction occurs when energy is passed directly from one item to another. If you stirred a pan of soup on the stove with a metal spoon, the spoon will heat up through conduction. Simple thing what you'll do in the kitchen, everyday job, is done in the kitchen, stirring. Metals are excellent conductors of heat energy. Wood or plastics are not. If you put a wooden spoon, it won't get heated because it is a bad conductor, and these bad conductors are called insulators. That's why a pan is usually made of metal while the handle is made up of strong plastic. If you look at your cooking utensils, most of them are made in this manner. Conduction can occur in solids, liquids, or gases, that is, in all three states. However, because the molecules in gases are far apart, gases are much more poorer conductors than either solids or liquids. Convection, for that matter. Convection transfers heat energy as fluid parcels move. Depends on the fact that in general, fluids expand when heated and thus undergo a decrease in density. Warmer, less dense portion of the fluid will tend to rise through the surrounding cooling fluid. Look at the figure and associate it with what has been spoken about. If heat continues to be supplied, the cooler fluid that flows in to replace the rising warmer fluid will also become heated and rise. Convection occurs in liquids and in gases. Both conduction and convection work here. These are the two ways what I introduced you all to, that is convection and conduction. Radiation. Now, what is radiation? Radiation is the process by which heat is transferred in wave forms. This process transfers heat at the speed of light. We can feel heat transferred by radiation even though we aren't in direct contact with the hot substance. Now, the sun is, we know, is a great engine that drives winds on the Earth's surface, ocean currents, exogenetic denudation process, and sustains life in the biosphere. Solar energy, which is received from the sun through the solar radiation, heats this Earth's surface and the atmosphere and is responsible for the movement of air and currents through changes in pressure and drives also the hydrological cycle. So over here, we can say these geobiochemical cycles help the plants to prepare their food in a way through the process of photosynthesis, which in fact changes the solar energy which is got from the sun into chemical energy, which is used by plants, animals, and human beings through different trophic levels of food chains and food webs. Earth sun energy balance. How does it balance? Sunlight energy reaches Earth via radiation because it's wave-like. It is in the form of wave-like. It is also the way energy leaves Earth to return to space. The solar radiation that reaches Earth is affected in one of the following ways. How? It can be reflected, it can be scattered, and it can be absorbed. If you look at this figure, you will see only 50% of incoming solar radiation warms up the Earth's surface. 20% is absorbed, reflected back off Earth is 4%, scattering is 6%, and reflection of clouds is 20%. Simple thing which you all should be knowing. Why is the sky blue? Rayleigh scattering. The small gas atoms and molecules that make up the atmosphere preferentially scatter the shorter wavelengths of light. Blue is shorter than red and green, and thus blue is scattered first. So it is all because of the light. As I told you all, what is the meaning of radiation? It is a process which transfers heat at the speed of light. So this is how the sky is blue. Now if you look at this picture, as the sun gets lower in the sky, the sunlight has to travel through more atmosphere. We studied in the last class the different layers of atmosphere. This gives the orange and red light more of a chance to be scattered. That's why you see a blue and orange ray light. Solar radiation. As this we did it in the last class, all the different layers, tropo, strato, meso, thermo. Most of the sun's energy is absorbed by the upper levels of the atmosphere. Even though not much air exists there, it absorbs almost 100% of very harmful rays. Visible infrared and some ultraviolet light does reach the Earth's surface. Now, why are you likely to be sunburned on the mountain top than you are at the sea level? You have to think about this question. We know about the seasons of this earth, winter solstice, you all have studied about this. How does it affect the heat balance? Why is the sun more intense in the tropics? Solar radiation is concentrated on a larger area and in mid-latitude regions. In equatorial regions also the solar radiation is concentrated, but in between those it's reflected back. What comes out has to go out. This is a natural thing. Over the course of year, Earth must emit as much as radiation as it has received from sun. So the sun is giving out some energy. The energy is the Earth emits this energy, and the solar is reflected energy. Energy what comes in has to go out. The Earth's radiation budget. Now, when we talk about this radiation budget, we are going to understand this now in detail. The total solar radiation reaching a horizontal surface on the ground is called global radiation. I repeat, the total solar radiation reaching a horizontal surface on the ground is called global radiation. It comprises the direct shortwave radiation from the sun plus the diffused radiation that is scattered by the atmosphere. On an average, there is supposed to exist heat balance between the amounts of solar radiation received by the Earth's surface and its atmosphere and the amount of heat lost by the terrestrial long wave radiation from the Earth's surface and loss of heat from the atmosphere. Energy in, energy out. It may be pointed out that the solar energy received at the Earth's surface is conveyed into heat energy. The solar energy gets converted into heat energy, and this heats the outer surface of the Earth. Thus, the Earth, after being heated, radiates energy in the form of long wave radiations. Radiations is wave-like process through lights. The radiation from the sun towards the earth and from the earth towards the atmosphere and the space is called incoming short wave radiation. There can be a question asked, what is incoming short wave radiation? So I repeat, the radiation from the sun towards the earth and from the earth towards the atmosphere and space is called incoming short wave solar radiation, that is radiation from the sun, and the outgoing long wave terrestrial radiation from the earth respectively. Now over here, the incoming shortwave solar radiation and the heat budget on the earth and the atmosphere, we'll talk about this a little more and understand what is it all about. The earth receives most of its energy from the sun through the shortwave solar radiation. The solar energy radiated towards the Earth's surface from the outer surface of the Sun, which is equivalent to 23 trillion horsepower. The 51% solar energy received by the Earth comprises of 34% as direct solar radiation and 17% as diffuse daylight. The heat budget of the atmosphere comprises 48% of solar radiation, wherein 14% out of that is received through shortwave incoming solar radiation and 34% is received from the outgoing long wave terrestrial radiation. Now what we'll talk about next is outgoing long wave terrestrial radiation and heat balance. Look at the figure and understand, listen to what I'm saying and relate it to this figure. After receiving energy from the sun, the earth also radiates energy out on its surface into the atmosphere through long waves. Students, I again repeat, radiation, think of the definition what I defined radiation as. So it's through waves. The terrestrial radiation is also called effective radiation because it helps in heating the lower portion of the atmosphere. 23% energy which the earth has gained from the sun is lost through direct long wave outgoing terrestrial radiation. Means 23% out of 51% energy which the earth has gained is lost through long wave outgoing terrestrial radiation, of which 6% is absorbed by atmosphere and 17% goes directly into the space. All these percentages, the numbers have to be right. About 9% of the terrestrial energy spent in convection and turbulence is spent through evaporation, which is added to the atmosphere. It may be pointed out that the mechanism of solar and terrestrial radiation is not as simple as mentioned. For example, not all the energy received by the atmosphere from the sun and the earth is radiated directly to space. Rather, a sizable amount, a negligible or a small amount, not a negligible, a sizable amount, small amount is received by the atmosphere, is counter radiated, is got back to the earth, it gets back to the earth's surface and is again radiated. Now the net radiation and latitudinal heat balance. The difference between all incoming solar energy and all outgoing terrestrial energy by both short wave and long wave radiation is called net radiation. What is net radiation? I repeat, students. It is the incoming solar energy and outgoing terrestrial energy by both shortwave and long-wave radiation is called net radiation. It is apparent from the discussion that the net radiation from the whole globe is at least zero, but this is far from truth if you look at other regional distribution of insolation. There are insolation also, I have told you all what does it mean. There are some places where the receipt of solar energy is more than the energy lost because the solar energy comes at faster rate than the terrestrial energy going out. Similarly, in some areas, the loss of energy through outgoing terrestrial radiation is faster than the gain of incoming solar radiation. How does this mechanism result into? What does it result into? It results into the development of areas of energy surplus where incoming solar radiation, the radiation which is coming in, exceeds the outgoing terrestrial radiation, and the energy deficit, the difference where outgoing terrestrial radiation exceeds incoming solar radiation. So, the energy surplus and the energy deficit areas may be identified and studied at two levels. At the surface, Earth's surface, in the atmosphere latitudinal base being common in both cases, the distribution of net radiation at the Earth's surface equator towards the poles shows that there is large energy surplus area between the zones of 20 degrees north and 20 degrees south, where energy gained from the incoming solar radiation is more than the loss of energy through outgoing long wave terrestrial radiation, and the annual surplus amounts to 100 kilograms. This is the atmospheric greenhouse effect. The carbon dioxide and the water vapor are the primary greenhouse gases which are reflected through solar radiation passes through the clear atmosphere because of the sun rays. Most radiation is absorbed by the Earth's surface and it warms it. Infrared radiation is emitted from the Earth's surface. Some of the infrared radiation is absorbed and re-emitted by the greenhouse gases. The effect of this is to warm the surface and the lower atmosphere. This is called the greenhouse effect. Net radiation, basically, what is net radiation? As I told you all again, it is the difference between incoming and outgoing terrestrial energy by shortwave and long-wave radiation. So the net radiation rapidly decreases from the energy surplus areas of low latitudes towards mid latitudes. Net radiation becomes zero nearly 70-degree latitudes in the northern and southern hemisphere. The polar areas are the zones of perennial energy deficit. The latitudinal distribution of net radiation in the atmosphere shows the atmosphere is itself a net loser of radiation in latitudes. Thus, this atmosphere is the zone of perennial energy because it exceeds some energy per year. Now, based on the combined data, the energy zones are identified as large zone of surplus radiation which extends between 40 degrees north and 30 degrees south latitudes, northern high latitudes of deficit radiation, southern high latitudes of deficit radiation. It means that there must exist a two-way heat transfer from the Earth's surface to the atmosphere and from the equator to the poles. This also has been with the help of these two diagrams, you all can very well understand what has been spoken about. The transfer of heat from equatorial area towards the poles is called meridional transport of heat. The meridional transport of heat is in form of sensible heat and by atmospheric circulation ocean currents which transport heat energy from the low latitude surplus energy to the high altitude. The vertical transport of heat in the atmosphere is accomplished by ascending air in the form of sensible heat and latent Heat. Now here when I spoke to you all about, we'll sum it up in a few words. Heat can be transferred by conduction and convection and by radiation. I have repeated this because this needs to be read and understood uh, one or two times more so that it becomes easy for you all to understand and write it in your words. Heat transfer from warmer to cooler objects will reach same temperature, that is thermal equilibrium. There are three ways to equalize temperature: conduction, convection, and radiation. This I had already spoken about. Conduction, I repeat, it is the transfer of energy with the materials and between different materials that are in direct contact. Conductors are materials that conduct heat well. We all know that metals are the best conductor, and which is the most conductive? Silver. In conduction, collisions between particles transfer thermal energy without any over transfer of matter. Conductors. Materials that have loose outer electrons are good conductors of heat. What are conductors basically? They are those materials that have loose outer electrons and good conductors of heat. Metals are best conductors of heat and electricity. If materials are in the same vicinity, the same area, they will have the same temperature. Insulators, they are bad conductors. Liquids and gases make good conductors. Insulator, many material that is poor conductor of heat and delays the transfer of heat because heat is energy and is tangible. Conduction involves transfer of energy from molecule to molecule, as I had shown you all through the figure. Energy moves but molecules do not. Convection, heat transfer by movement of heat substance itself. In convection, heat is transferred by movement of hotter substances from one place to another. Moving air, convection currents stirring produce winds. Uneven absorption of heat causes uneven heating near the surfaces and creates a convection currents. During the day, land is warmer and the air and it produces breeze. At night, the land is cooler than the water, so air flows in the opposite direction. Cooling air, the rising warm air expands because there's less atmospheric pressure and it squeezes on higher altitudes. When air expands, it cools. Molecules get speed from other molecules. With expanding air, the average speed of molecules decreases and the air cools. Now coming to radiation, as I said, heat balance depends on gravity, solar radiation, endogenetic forces. So we are going to talk more about radiation. So that's why I have repeated this. Sun's heat is transmitted by radiation. Radiation is transmitted by electromagnetic waves. Radiant energy which is transferred by radiation. Now, radiation heat is transported in the form of radiant energy or electromagnetic waves. Radiant energy is in the form of radio waves, microwaves, visible light or X-ray. It is, I already told you that it is listed, it is through wavelengths. All substances continuously emit radiant energy in a mixture of wavelengths. Low temperature objects emit long waves. High temperature objects emit short waves. An infrared thermometer measures the infrared radiant energy emitted by a body and converts it into temperature. Terrestrial radiation, I told you all is what? It is that radiant energy that is emitted by the earth on land, anything related to land. Terrestrial radiation is radiant energy that is emitted by the earth through infrared waves and they are not visible to us. Radiant energy encounters objects, some absorbed, some reflected. Absorbed increases internal energy. If you see students, everything emits energy and everything absorbs energy from the environment. Absorption and emission. Now there's a relation and interlink between those. Objects absorb and radiate energy at the same rate. This means when they are at the same rate, it is thermal equilibrium with its environment. When an object radiates more energy, it has new thermal equilibrium. Good emitters of radiant energy are also good absorbers. Poor emitters are poor absorbers. Absorption and emission. Dark objects remain hotter than their surroundings on a hot day and cool faster at night. All objects in thermal contact reach thermal equilibrium. Now, when we talk about reflection, what does this mean? Absorption and reflection are opposite processes. I repeat, absorption and reflection are opposite processes. Good absorbers reflect little radiant energy and they appear dark. Radiant energy that enters an opening has little chance of leaving before it is completely absorbed. Good reflectors are poor absorbers. Light colored objects reflect more light and heat and dark colored objects absorb more light and energy. Sun during the day is a net absorber, at night it is a net emitter. What is the importance of sun? Here, where absorption and reflection is concerned, during the day it is a net absorber, during the night it is a net emitter. Light colored objects reflect more light and heat and dark colored absorb more light and energy. Now, Newton also had an important role to play where the heat balance is concerned or the topic is concerned. An object hotter than its surroundings, according to him, an object hotter than its surroundings eventually cools to match the surrounding temperature. The rate of cooling, when we talk about, means how many degrees change per unit of time. The rate of cooling of an object depends on how much hotter the object is than that of the surroundings. He felt that the colder the object surrounding, the faster the object will cool. The temperature difference is small, the rate of cooling is low. Newton's law of cooling states that, in short, what does it tell? It states that the rate of cooling is approximately proportional to the temperature difference between the object and its surroundings. The greenhouse effect, very important topic you all need to know. Greenhouse effect is nothing but it's the warming of the planet's surface due to the trapping of radiation by the planet's atmosphere. So students, did you all see how they are interact with one another? The different layers of atmosphere in the beginning what we studied. How are they, this radiation gets trapped. Radiation travels through waves. So this basically creates a greenhouse effect where the planet is warmed. The warming of the planet's surface is greenhouse effect. What are the causes of this? Two concepts. All things radiate heat and wavelength depends on temperature. High temperature have short waves. We spoke about short waves and long waves. High temperatures have short waves, low temperature have long waves. Transparency of things. There are two concepts which are the causes of greenhouse effect. Transparency of things depends on the wavelength of radiation. Same effect in the Earth's atmosphere, where the surface of the Earth absorbs energy, it re-radiates part of the energy in longer wavelengths. Long wavelengths cannot escape the Earth's atmosphere and it warms the Earth. Earth's temperature here depends on the energy balanced between incoming solar radiation and outgoing terrestrial radiation. So the two kinds of radiations which are very important is solar radiation and terrestrial radiation. Solar radiation is through sun energy. Terrestrial radiation is what is pertaining to the earth or the land. Over years, solar radiation that comes to the earth equals terrestrial radiation earth emits. Now, this is what is happening, that the solar radiation equals terrestrial radiation. Materials such as fossil fuel changes absorption and reflection of solar radiation. Not if energy is solar, wind or water. It can change the earth's temperature. The near unanimous view of climatic scientists is that human activity is the main driver of global warming and climate change. We are completely responsible for the consequences of greenhouse effect, and time and again these warnings have been given to us for which we are suffering now. Water vapor is the main greenhouse gas. Carbon dioxide is most rapidly increasing. You can see temperature, climate, weather fluctuations. Our immunity is low. So there are a lot of issues happening in the world and around due to the greenhouse effect. So this is what it sums it up. This figure is important for you all to relate to the topic which I spoke about. Especially this lecture was dedicated to heat balance, the radiation, the solar radiation, what I spoke about, the terrestrial radiation, the short waves, the long waves outgoing. These both, how are they interrelated? What does net radiation mean? What is the heat budget of the Earth in the atmosphere? And what I completed was net radiation with latitudinal heat balance. So all of this is very important, and there again there can be a question asked on this, a short note probably, or a long question. Both can be asked depending on the matter you have understood and you can write. You can definitely approach this answer well.